Well, it's been 4 weeks since I've got back from Botswana, and it's safe to say that normally by now I'd have moved on. The footage is edited, well, most of it is. The photos have been edited and printed in some instances, and I'd normally be thinking about the next adventure. But this trip has been very different, and there's 2 days, just 24 hours that literally keep replaying in my mind. They weren't necessarily the busiest days of the trip. They certainly weren't the days when we photographed the most species. They were simply 2 moments that reminded me why I fell in love with Africa in the first place. They reminded me, no matter how many times I keep going back to the bush, it always has new stories to tell. This is the story of our final 24 hours in Botswana. By the final evening, we had already experienced more than we could have hoped for. Lions, elephants, brown hyena, spotted hyena, and abundant bird life. But there was one animal in particular that had continued to elude us. A leopard had been reported nearby. We'd seen it briefly the previous day, but it disappeared almost as quickly as it arrived, and it's amazing how one species can disappear in full sight in front of 5 or 6 people. Nothing in wildlife is guaranteed, and that's exactly how it should be. There's something incredibly addictive about tracking a leopard. Every broken twig, every alarm call, every distant sign of movement has you wondering if this might be the moment. Sometimes nothing comes of it, and in fact most of the time nothing happens, but sometimes hours disappear. But occasionally everything comes together, and then there she was. We'd spent half an hour or so frantically driving towards the location, knowing that anything we passed was just going to become insignificant, and we had to commit to getting there to make sure that we gave ourselves every chance before the light faded. But standing high above us, bathed in the final light of the African day, she didn't seem at all concerned by our presence. She just walked slowly, confidently, effortlessly. Every movement reminded us exactly why leopards have become one of Africa's most iconic predators. And then it climbed onto a rocky outcrop and settled down. As photographers, we often talk about getting the shot, but sometimes the photographs almost become secondary. Don't get me wrong, we wanted to make sure that the shots were in the bag. But sitting there 20 meters away from a completely relaxed wild leopard, watching it groom itself, watching it slowly close its eyes, and listening to nothing around us but the sounds of the bush. And that's something that no photograph can truly capture, and that's why I love making these films, because I replay in my mind and share with you exactly what it was like to be there. And for 15 minutes, time literally stopped. Back at the camp that evening, everyone agreed, surely that was it. It would be impossible to beat. But none of us knew right then that Africa had definitely got other ideas. Our final morning game drive was deliberately shorter. Flights, unfortunately, don't wait for safari vehicles, so there was one final opportunity. We started with elephants in the riverbed. Beautiful, peaceful. But something wasn't quite working photographically. We were waiting for the sunrise. And unfortunately, before the sun had an opportunity to appear, the elephants had moved on. The light just wasn't how we'd hoped. The scene never quite came together. We were about to leave, and then the call of an elephant, shortly followed by the unforgettable sound of a male lion. And everything changed. We frantically tried to get out of the riverbed, and our guide managed to get us into a position that none of us could have even dreamed might have happened. We saw the entire lion pride walking out of the bush towards us with the most spectacular African sunrise behind. And none of us had even noticed at this point there was a kill. They'd made a kill the night before and they were there feeding. The magnificent male watching over one of the lionesses and their 3 9-month-old cubs. But then, just when we'd thought the morning couldn't become any more special, she appeared. The sister, followed by her 4 tiny cubs, no more than 8 weeks old. The cubs that we'd seen on a couple of fleeting occasions previously, but presented to us once more in the most magical light. People often ask me why I keep returning to Africa. Surely after enough safaris you've seen everything. It becomes familiar, predictable. But the truth is, it never does. The wildlife changes, the light changes, the weather changes, the stories change. And every now and again, nature gives you a morning that you'll remember for the rest of your life. As we left Tuli behind, I realised something. We hadn't come to the end of our trip. We'd just collected another reason to come back. I've been lucky enough to visit some extraordinary places around the world, but even now, 4 weeks on, when I close my eyes, it's those final couple of days that I remember most clearly. Not because we saw a leopard, not because we found lions, but because for a brief moment we weren't chasing a photograph anymore. We were just sat there, privileged to witness Africa unfolding exactly as it has, day after day after day after day, for thousands of years. If you've enjoyed coming on this journey with me, I would love it if you could give it a thumbs up and a like. And if you don't already, I'd love it if you could subscribe. It helps me push the content out to other people that enjoy similar things. And please do leave a comment. I try and reply to every comment that I receive, and I love reading about what you've thought about my videos. And finally, if this film has inspired you to experience Botswana for yourself, we would absolutely love to welcome you on one of our Apex Adventures safaris there in the future. Until next time, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, get out in nature, and I'll see you on the next one.